What's up, and welcome back to the Coffee and Sugar podcast. Today, we are interviewing Amy and Tim from Atom Splitter, and that is a public relations company that works with a ton of bands that you and I both love. And as a publication ourselves, we wanted to take the time to get an inside look into what is the day to day for a PR rep in the music industry. And it was really cool. We learned a lot of stuff about what they deal with, and we appreciate Amy and Tim giving us the time to come on and chat with us. So we're super excited for you to hear it. In terms of episodes, I wanted to give an update on just kind of the frequency as to which we will be putting them out. And to be honest with you, it's just going to be random. People are busy, and that's something that we've kind of come to realize. And so sometimes we'll have pretty consistent, and sometimes we won't, and that's totally cool. Kind of like a surprise whenever we get one in. So I don't know, felt the need to clarify in terms of it's been a while since we last put out an episode. So people get busy, and we totally understand that. Music industry is always moving. So we hope you enjoy this episode, and stick around for the next one. All right. So we'll go ahead and let you guys introduce yourselves, and we'll start with you, Amy, and kind of just go from there.
Sure. Hi, my name is Amy, and I run Atom Splitter PR. We are a PR agency, and we work with everybody from The Pretty Reckless to Alice Cooper to Killswitch Engage, Falling in Reverse, The Day to Remember, Vacation Strain, Devil Wears Prada. So many great bands. Vane. I could go on and on. We have so many, Beartooth, In Flames. We work with the best hard rock and metal bands out there. And before I started my own company, I worked at Roadrunner Records for a very long time, working with everybody from Killswitch to Machine Head, Slipknot, Nickelback, during probably one of the best eras of the company. And before that, I was a music writer, and I used to write for Revolver, Kerrang, Spin, Alternative Press back a long time ago, but I'm retired from writing.
Awesome. And Tim?
Hey, Tim. I'm basically Amy's right hand for Atom Splitter. About a 20-year veteran of the music industry, I guess. Had an internship with Sony when I was about 20 years old. Did that for like 3 years, and then not really knowing where I was going to find myself, and then wound up at a company called Red Distribution, which was Sony's independent music distributor, which dealt with a lot of the independent, at the time, like emo labels, hardcore labels, stuff like that, and just kind of found myself in a PR, online marketing and publicity position after about 2 years of being there. And oddly enough, working with the same bands, a lot of the same bands that I worked with 15, 20 years ago there. And, when I started working with Amy, it's a lot of the same stuff. But yeah, so I've been with Atom Splitter for, I guess, like 3.5 years now.
Awesome. So Amy, as far as starting Atom Splitter, where did the want to branch off and do your own thing come from?
It wasn't actually a choice. Things are changing at Roadrunner very rapidly and very markedly. I was there a really long time, almost 12, 13 years, something like that. And I loved it. It was a great job. It was a great company. There'll never be any era like it was when I worked there. That time has passed. That golden age has really passed. But I loved it there, and I worked with some amazing people and considered them family, and still do, from the bands to the people that were my coworkers. And it was just changing, and I was thinking about wanting to leave for a while, and I didn't, because I knew if I stuck around, it would just be the better decision in terms of getting a good payment. And then when they kind of blew out our department, I left Roadrunner on a Friday and started Atom Splitter on a Monday. And I started it really just, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do in terms of what positions or if I wanted to go work at another label. But I love the bands that I worked with so much that I wanted to keep working with Killswitch, and Gojira and Machine Head and all the bands I worked with. And I went to a Killswitch show and I was like, "Hey guys, I'm leaving Roadrunner," and they were like, "Well, don't leave us." And I was like, "Okay, I won't." So they basically are the reason I started the company because I wanted to keep working with them, and we still work together to this day, 20 years, because we're old. But that was basically what really triggered it. And then it was like, I just kept working with Gojira and Machine Head and Corey Taylor, and it just spiraled. It was like I didn't really even have a choice. And I'm glad I didn't. It was just the fact that the bands and I had been through so much together and worked so closely together that we just kept doing it. And it just spiraled from there because managers of bands, like Amity Affliction's manager, was like, "Oh, well, I have these other bands I want you to work with now that you're not just working for Roadrunner." So it spiraled really quickly. And within the first 5 months, I needed to hire people to help me. And it's been growing ever since. So it was really a necessity, but I don't want to do anything else, And I tell people, a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm not sure what I want to do," or if they leave a job in the music industry, I don't want to do anything else. Like this is like I'm, I don't have any second thoughts. I don't have anything I'd like to study. The only time I ever thought about doing something else was like I applied to do media for the Super Bowl when it was 5 minutes from my house, and that was like a seasonal thing. And I was like, "Oh, I want to say I work for the NFL because then those jobs become real good full-time jobs." But it just I was too overqualified for it. But other than that, I never really wanted to do anything else. Really, I just wanted to. I always wanted to work with the bands, and we get to work with the best bands there are, and we get to really pick who we work with at this point too. And that's really very, very rewarding, and we're just very lucky that we get to work with the best bands out there. Sorry, my dog
absolutely.
is like being a weirdo.
One of the common themes that we have seen across, kind of this quote unquote season of the podcast is all about people who work in the music industry and not so much the artists themselves, because obviously the artists themselves are who everyone gets to talk to and wants to talk to. And I feel like the people that work behind the scenes don't get a lot of love or appreciation for the things they do that make the industry continue to move forward. And so when I reached out to Tim, I know kind of enough about PR, but I know that there's more to it based off of just how many publications that are, out there in the world and in the country and wanting to work with the artists that you help kind of manage. And so, Tim and I reached out to you initially based off like a tweet that you had made about just publications reaching out for contact information and stuff like that for artists. And it piqued my brain of what is it that the day-to-day looks like for someone working in PR in the PR world for y'all.
A lot of coordination, it's a lot of communication, and making sure you're just on top of every little thing, because what I've learned is if you're not on top of your shit, everything's going to fall apart, and you're going to have a terrible day and terrible days to follow, because you're going to be rescheduling every single interview that doesn't happen, which happens often, not to necessarily our fault, or sometimes stuff falls through on either side or whatever. But once you get into like things falling through and rescheduling and just starting from square one, it sets everything else back. So that was probably something that I said I was probably having a bad day because something got screwed up along the way, which happens to Amy and I all day long. We commiserate together about that stuff.
So, I mean, I've learned that anybody that has some sort of way to create a website and a little bit of a network can create a publication and apply for shows and reviews and interviews and all that stuff. I am curious, on a daily basis, how many emails do you guys see come through that you have to dive into?
Well, I mean, that's an Amy question. I don't get nearly as many emails as Amy does, because everybody. The thing is, with Adam Splitter, everybody knows Amy, and people know me or whatever that I work with the company, but it's Amy's company, and everybody knows to go to her because she's been running it for so long, and even before then. So Amy can answer that question. I mean, I get a decent amount of emails, but Amy gets a lot.
I get a lot of emails every day. It's like my inbox is like an electronic cuff, I say, because it's just so much, like easily 1,000 a day, because multiple inboxes, because I have older inboxes I just forward everything to. And some things are like, things that I sign up for mailing lists and stuff like that, whether it's like Revolver or The Fader or Loudwire or Urban Decay Cosmetics. I mean, that's a lot, but that's a very small percentage of what's coming in, whether it's actual press requests, client requests, media requests, confirmations, fans that get my email address because they want to ask about getting a proposal on stage. And like a lot of stuff, oh, I went to a meet and greet and I never got my photo. Could you help me? So I get a lot of stuff that doesn't really fall under my domain, but I do get a lot of emails about the things that do fall under my domain. So it's a lot. It's a lot to manage. And I was just telling somebody this the other day, like, sometimes I will forego a little bit of small talk in order to get the emails answered, because if I spend a lot of time small talking an email, then there's 50 emails underneath it that don't get answered at all. So I'm fast. I'd rather respond, boom, get it done. It may not be as much of the pleasantries as I would like, but it's still got more emails answered that way. So that's something that the volume I don't love about it, because I'm usually a little bit more personable, but just the volume, it's ridiculous. Like I'm still trying to figure out how to get the volume of emails down, because it's a lot.
Yeah, and that's
or
the
just
thing.
to a manageable level.
Yeah, I assumed it was a lot because when tours get announced, I can imagine that interviews and press requests and all that stuff just start flooding in, and I mean,
well before they should be, I'll say.
There we go. That's a great question. What would you all say is the appropriate amount of time for a publication to request a media credential for a tour?
I would say I mean, we have tours that are happening in April, and we're getting requests in like January. And I understand some people they think like, oh, if I request it now, I'm first in line, I'm reserving a spot. But that's not really how it works, because like a lot of times we don't get protocol from the bands, and we haven't talked to the entire lineup, because it depends on, is there one photo pass for the entire tour? Does each band have separate approvals? If there's one pass, what are the protocol that we come to an agreement with if it's a headliner or a co-headliner support? What we do there is, it's just we don't always have that until like a couple days before, but also sometimes we don't get requests until the day of, and we have to wait, or the day before. We have to wait and see who's requesting, because we have 5 spots. We're usually getting like 7 or 8 requests, and we can't cover everything just because of limitations, because tickets cost money. They come out of a budget, or they come out of a part of the artist holds, or the venue holds, or the agreement between the venue and the band and the agent. So there's a lot of stuff in place. So I was just like, oh, here's the ticket. It can come out of sellable tickets too. So it just depends on how many we have, how many is per market, how many is budgeted, how many is selected before the tour, how many requests we get. But I always say 7 to 10 days, really, not the day of, not an hour before doors, on a weekend. That's really something I hate, and happens quite often, especially people who email me and then Facebook me and then Instagram me and then Twitter direct message me. It's like,
and LinkedIn.
Not during, and LinkedIn and TikTok. It's like, if it's not on business hours,
yeah.
It's not like we just click something, boom. It's like you have a layer of processes to go through. So I tell people 2 weeks to a week. That's really the best. Yes, a couple days before is doable, but it's not always as doable. It's like shipping and handling. It's like we require time for processing, because there's a lot of other factors at play. We got to check to make sure we have it. Can we add it? Is the tour manager close the list? Do we have the spots? What have we already talked to? It's just like, it's a daily grind, and people don't realize that it's not just, oh, boom, you click a button and it's done. That's not how it works. So 2 weeks is really my favorite. 2 months, don't like it.
but I will say, like, I do understand like people's frustrations that where it's like we're saying like like a week out from a show, and it's like, well, you think that we we would know like what we have available, but we legitimately don't. Like we just don't. So there's like our hands are just tied, you know.
Yeah, a lot of times
When
it's
you
different
say
for tour, you know?
Yeah.
yeah, when you say available, that's like how many spots do you guys have available per show on the tour? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because there are
Yeah.
times when we can get like it depends. Every tour is different. Sometimes we can lean on, the venues or the promoter for ticket spots. Sometimes we have to go through the label for ticket buys. Sometimes we have to use band guest list, which band could have. It depends on the tour and the size of venues. The band could have each member can have 5 spots a show, or each member can have 2 spots a show. It just depends on where the band is in the order of where they're playing. Sometimes we might get 2 press spots a show. Sometimes we might get 12. It really depends on the band, the venue, the size of the tour, the size of the venues. It's different every single time. Like I said, there's no science to it. And like, it's not like we tell people no just because we want to. It's like we might physically not have it.
Mm-hmm.
And
And that's
sometimes
something
we're
I don't
told
think
we have
people understand.
and
Go
sometimes we're
ahead,
told
Tim. Sorry.
we'll have like 10 tickets, and then the week of the show that gets cut down to 5 or 6, and then we have to figure
Yeah.
out, okay, well, who what are we doing here? So
Yeah. No, I've learned some things about how, just press in general. I mean, I'm learning like every day something new about the industry, from a PR, from a just day of show, the people that are running things, management, and all that stuff. And so, the number of times that you walk up to a press box and your name's not on a list for whatever reason, and having to figure out what's going on and stuff like that. So, a lot of depending
Yeah,
on
that
people to do those things.
a lot of that is no fun too for us. You know what I mean? Like we don't send somebody to a show saying, "Oh my God, you're on the list," and they're not on. It's a lot of times like I manually added somebody to a guest list for Friday, manually put it in, saw it on there, and it just got cut off. And it was just a matter of texting the tour manager when the person contacted me, said, "Hey, I'm here, I'm not on the list." So I just texted the tour manager, boom, got done. But it's like a lot, it's we don't send people out there, and sometimes it gets fucked up or it gets cut off or it didn't make it through layers of people. And it's frustrating because
that's
we don't
exactly
want
what I was
people
going to say.
showing
A lot
up.
of layers.
Yeah, there's layers, and it's like you have to go through the label person or you have to go through the tour manager or both. And we don't want anybody to show up to a show and be like asked out and waiting out there in the cold or missing part of the band's set. But it happens. It just does. And we
Right.
usually do our best to try to rectify that in real time. Sometimes you might not always get it, but we usually do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I had some guy once over the last summer. I just got home from a wedding on a Saturday night. A wedding, Saturday night, weekend. And this guy messages me a really nasty text. I'm here at the venue for such and such a show, and I'm not in the guest list. What the F? He starts yelling at me, and I said, I haven't worked with that band in 5 years, so I never told you were on a guest list. So you got the wrong person. He's like, oh my God, how did I do that? And didn't even say sorry. He was just like, I was like, you just
Mm.
got nasty with me on a Saturday about a band I don't work with, and an email exchange we never had, and never even got like oh hey, I'm sorry. It was just like oh I must have messed that up. I'm like, yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
did, but it's fine. I don't take it personally. I try to laugh about that stuff, but sometimes I think people need to remember too, like in these situations, like just give it a second to get rectified. Like sometimes I have people in a
Mm-hmm.
venue and they like hit me up like 18 times on. I'm like, hold on, like just give me a second to get the tour manager. Tour manager has to get a band on stage. They have to get the band paid. They have to make sure the merch is taken care of. They have to make sure the band is fed. They have to make sure that that all that the lighting guy is taken care of. Everything is taken care of. They have to get the show on the stage for the people who paid for it. So sometimes I might need 15 minutes to get them from whatever it is they're doing to the box office. So I always tell people just be patient for 15 minutes. I'm communicating with the tour manager. And then sometimes, in certain cases, we can give somebody the tour manager's number so they can make contact themselves. But a lot of times it really depends. I think a tour manager will respond to us quicker because they know us. And they're already communicating with us. So I just think that's sometimes easier because if like they get like a message from the number they don't know, they might not be as quick to respond. So that's why, and a lot of times, if you're doing an interview, you already have the tour manager info, so you can, it's usually a pretty easy fix. There's only been a
Mhm.
couple of instances where I couldn't get a tour manager, or if it was like super late and the band goes on at like 11 p.m. Pacific time, which is 2 a.m. here, and I might be sleeping. But it's very rare. But when that happens, we usually try to make it up to people where we can.
Yeah.
But it happens,
Yeah.
but not often. I don't like it to be an often occurrence.
Right. And you mentioned earlier, just building the relationships with the artists, and then taking that a step further and just building relationships with the people in the industry. And that's kind of what it is. Like this industry is built off just the relationships and just being a good person and communicating and just trying to do right by everyone and not trying to make things too complicated or whatever it may be, right? So, like the relationship aspect, I think, is just super important. Which
Sure.
is again,
Yeah, like I said, I don't want somebody driving to a show, whether it's 10 minutes or 40 minutes, and being like, but I try to tell people too, and this is for their own, sanity. I don't recommend going to cover a show that's like an hour outside of your market, because if there is a fuck up and we can't fix it, I don't want you to have driven an hour each way and then you didn't get what you needed. So I tell people, a lot of times they say, "Oh, I want to do it." I said, "Okay, then you're taking the risk, so to speak." So if something gets messed up and it doesn't get fixed, that's why we invite people to shows in their market, because we don't want it to be, a hardship for them to get to the show, drive, gas, all that stuff.
yeah, for
But for
sure.
the most part, like I said, I'm just like an insight to how it works, because I think some people just think, and not in a bad way, it's just they don't know. This is like educational, I think.
Right. Yeah, and that's the big thing. Is like people just don't know, right? They
Yeah,
expect
of course. I'm
it to
always happy
be,
to like tell people.
yeah. They expect it to
I had
be
one
how they want it to be.
I had one like photographer that I work with had no idea once that like tickets, like there's ticket buys, and I explained it. And he was like, "Oh wow, I'm glad you told me that, because I had no idea." I was like, "Yeah, I mean, unless if you know, you know, if you don't know, you'll find out." So that's just a pretty standard in the music industry, but it's not really explained unless you work at a label or you have some kind of experience in the venues or stuff like that. But yeah, like I said, they can come out of sellable tickets. If a show is close to selling out, that's what I say. If a fan, they try to do some media holds, the venues and the promoters do too. But sometimes we lose those tickets if the show is selling out and they want to put more tickets on sale. So sometimes we have to
Hmm.
really, then if not the band or the label, will have to buy those tickets to provide to media.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So would you guys say that there are like some common misconceptions about like PR and PR teams and you know this could be just what you feel like people reaching out for media and interviews and stuff just aren't aware of or assume about PR?
Tim, do you want to answer? Because I've been a talking head, I feel like, all day.
Uh, I think a lot of people think that we have like ultimate access over everything, which we still don't, because there's usually another layer beyond us, which is management, who has full control.
Mhm.
So we have say in stuff, but we don't have like end all be all say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're the
That's up
ones
to
running the fence.
management. We give
I
our
mean,
suggestions, and that's the best that we could do. We could try and push here, push there, and give our reasons why, but a lot of times we're not the ones that are making final decisions. It's made by somebody else.
but we can influence those final decisions.
Well, yeah,
We've been able
exactly.
to turn no's into yeses, because it's like an outlet we work with a lot, or we know they do a really thorough and informed interview. We know it's going to be ultimately a very good experience for the artist and for their fans. But sometimes, like, they could be like, "Oh no, sorry, we got to cut it. We don't have time." So, but we'll always say, "Hey, if we can squeeze it in, make it happen." Yeah, but I just, like I said, there's so much. Hi, baby. Sorry, my dog is being such a weirdo tonight. He wants to be on camera too. You want to be on camera? There's a lot of layers and like a lot of moving parts, as they like to say, to getting this stuff done, because there's like you said, there's managers. Sometimes there's two managers, a day to day, the main manager. Then there's the venue might have, hey, can you help us out? This is a local media outlet that we'd really like to take care of. Can you go that extra mile, get them 5 minutes? Sometimes people want to get a photograph with an artist, or they want to get, an autograph or stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff, like some things we can make happen, some things we can't. A lot of times like people think that the bands are just like, they're not just sitting around backstage doing nothing or getting drunk. They have the meet and greets that are paid for. They might have a radio station visit. They might be in the middle of mixing or editing a new radio single, and they got to do that on the road because they don't have time. There's so much other stuff. They're doing other interviews. They could be doing press for other markets like the UK or Europe. So there's not a lot of time. Or they might maybe have friends in the city and they want to meet up with them. It's not like they're just, so that's a lot of time too. It's like sometimes we get that 1 hour of time while they're on the road to get stuff done. So there's just a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. So so y'all have an impressive catalog of bands that you work with, and honestly, I love that because I think there's everyone that I try to see and cover in this area is either y'all or Cosa Nostra, and most of the time it's y'all, and so I love that, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted.
There are Cosa Nostra, our friends. We love Charlie, and I used to work with Michelle and Kirsten at Roadrunner. So yeah, they're our friends. We work very closely with them on a lot of tours, and we have joint artists.
Yeah, they've always been super nice to us, and so when it comes to a tour being announced, or from a PR perspective, when a new tour is announced and it's one of your artists and others maybe not on the same PR team, what's kind of like y'all's order of like process when it comes to like just the marketing and PR for that tour? And is there a process? Am I just kind of assuming there is? What does that look like for y'all?
In terms of like with other like other PR, working with other PR reps for bands on a tour.
Yeah.
A lot of times, most of the time, it's very a very symbiotic synergy. There's a lot of communication because we, like, perfect example, like the Trinity of Terror tour, which was Motionless in White, which we handled their touring. Iceland Kills, which is Cosa Nostra, the aforementioned Charlie and Etzer handle, and Black Veil Brides, who Kevin, Kevin's their publicist. And we went over every guest list for every show because we were all getting hit up from all angles. It's good to be in communication because for that tour, we had limited spots per tour. So we had to be really, we had to be brutal when making cuts. And sometimes if I said no to somebody, they might have asked them. So, we were all in communication with one document, sharing all of our requests with each other so that we knew who was saying yes and no to, and who we were approving. And so that we knew if somebody got told no and went in and they, asked somebody else, we were very, very communicative. And sometimes, that's essential in a tour like that. It's a high demand tour, selling out, very limited access. And it's just easier for all of us. And we do that on a lot of tours. Like when I have the headliner, and maybe another PR firm obviously has, the support act, a lot of times they'll forward things to me or say, hey, you got to go through the headliner, or we do the same thing. So there's a lot of communication. It just makes it easier for everybody. Sometimes there might be somebody you don't want shooting or covering your artist because there was an issue. I had one photographer who took photos of an artist, and he was approved for one publication and used them for another publication that was not approved. And the artist did not want to be featured in a publication of that style because it was very risque, and that wasn't the vibe they wanted to put out. And they were not happy about that, and it was not approved. So, in the future, the artist like, didn't want that person shooting our shows because we had a problem. And it's good to make sure, because if you see that person pop up on somebody else's list, you can say, hey, we don't allow them to shoot because, they broke the rules, or they, the artist was unhappy. Sometimes you have somebody who, makes it backstage when they don't have a backstage pass. I tell people this backstage is the band's house on the road. There's laptops, there's music back there, there's money, there's passports. It's their home. It's not as glamorous as people think. And some people end up back there, and then they, and the band isn't aware, and their, band is always nice, but then they're like, well, who was this and how did they get back here? And that's up to us sometimes to find out how that happened and make sure it doesn't happen again. Because people, what happens when a guitar gets, gets stolen and everybody's like, well, who was backstage? I'm not saying somebody took it, but I'm just saying then it becomes, well, how did you get back here? Who do you know? It's just messy for everybody. So it's always like just good to be above board on everything. And communication, like I said, with other PR reps, and our tour managers and our managers, it's never, 99% of people who request directly through the band's just going to forward it to us, and the manager is. So I would say, just forward it to us in the first place. Just reach out to us anyway, because we're going to get asked about it anyway. So it just cuts out a lot of extra emails.
Yeah. So
I'm talking too much.
No, you're good. I mean, that's what this is for.
Sam, talk more.
So from a preferred standpoint, because I'm coming from the media, like past kind of corner things, because that's kind of what I do. Would you prefer people to reach out directly to the PR teams versus like management, or versus the artist or whatever it may be, who may know someone in a band or another avenue into the show? How have you guys had some like issues on that front of people not going through PR and then it being an issue? How have you guys had that, like seen that happen?
Long story short, it always winds up coming back to us.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
It always winds up in our lap. If somebody goes directly to the band and they message them over Instagram, which happens all the time, or the band says, okay, well, here's our publicist, they get in touch with us. They use the contact form on the website that goes to management. Management sends it to us. They find out who the booking agent is. They go to the booking agent sends it to us. It's usually all...
Or the venue does.
And people, people will try to get around us, and they think they can, and then in the end, it still winds up coming back to us, and it's kind of like, well, we told you so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just go use the right channels, because another thing, like the band doesn't ever see the guest list, and they might say, oh yeah, it's no problem. And then I might say, well, we only have 5 spots and they're all spoken for, and we can't cut anybody and we can't add anybody. So that's why it just makes like more of a, like, then we have to try to make some magic acts happen, which sometimes we can and sometimes we can't. So it's just like, if you just go above board the whole time, it cuts out all those headaches. That's what I'm just saying. Like, it's just always best to go through the right channel, because it's 9.9 times out of 10, it's just going to get forwarded to us anyway.
Gotcha. Now that makes sense.
We're all in communication, like managers and bands and tour managers. Like, it's not like, I've had sometimes people that I've told no, go and ask somebody, and the date stamp on the emails after I've already replied and said, sorry, we can't accommodate. And I'll forward it to him and be like, hey, didn't we just talk about this yesterday? Oh, I forgot. Okay. I mean, it was just yesterday, but okay. So it's just like, listen, and I try not to make people feel silly. I'm just like, listen, like, just let's not make everybody's job harder. Let's like just be really above board on everything.
Mm-hmm. So I am curious. Obviously, people cover the show, they shoot, they write a review, they send it out to you guys. I more so for me, I'm curious. Do those reviews, I guess go into a I don't know. I think it goes to just the band, but what do those reviews kind of, where do they land?
What do you mean? So I know what you mean.
So yeah, like when we ship off a review of a show or of an album, do you guys just kind of keep that in like their file, like in their catalog for just future?
Like their press kit. Yeah, no, we always put it in the press kit, whether it's good or bad press, like whatever it is. If it's a positive review, we always try to post things on our socials, whether it's Twitter or Instagram story or Facebook post.
Mm-hmm.
We always share it with the band and label. But we don't always have a say over what they post. We can just share it with them. And if somebody says, hey, can you ask the band to post this? We'll ask. We'll always ask. But they could have like 18 posts already scheduled for that day. So they, some bands are like, can be like, oh, I don't want to look like a douchebag sharing a really positive review. But it's like, no, you should, because that's somebody else saying it. It's validation from a third party. But we always share it, and we always ask for it to be posted. And we always save everything, whether it's good or bad press for the press kit.
From a good or bad review standpoint, do you guys find people? This has actually been a topic I saw floating around, like Facebook one day. Someone posted about how they used to shoot for a publication, and it was always people wanting to put out positive reviews and positive reviews only. But someone was championing putting out, like, if you really didn't enjoy it, like being forthright about that. Do you guys find yourself getting negative reviews, or do you find them being majority positive?
I'd say that show reviews are predominantly positive because it's people that are already, familiar with the band and are excited to, review the show or, shoot the show or whatever. I think we see more of the negative stuff when it comes to album reviews, when it's something that somebody might not be familiar with, or maybe the band's change their sounds up and they're just not a fan. I think that's kind of, but I also think that we want people, to be honest with their opinion and not to, give a bunch of BS either.
Right. Yeah. It's a kind of weird, like, dichotomy of, like, yeah, it's press, like, obviously you want it to be good and have good things to say about it, but it was just interesting that I saw someone, like, someone who used to do publication work and wanting to be more honest and stuff about artists and their music and stuff. I just thought it was interesting, a take.
I mean, we don't want anybody like bashing the bands, but
right.
But if people have an opinion, people have opinions, obviously. So, but yeah, we don't want to see anybody bashing our bands. And if it's like a scenario where, we need to clean it up, that happens as well.
Right. Oh, I thought you were about to say something, Amy. Sorry.
No, like I echo what Tim said. I mean, sometimes if people or journalists don't like it, that's understandable, and we don't obviously want anybody to bash our bands, but we love to get the positive press, but obviously we keep an archive of everything we get, but the things that are positive and that we want the fans to read, that's the stuff that we share.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know, that it came across very interesting to me because I was like, I don't know why you would want to review something and then throw a negative take or spin on it. I guess there's a difference between being like negative and critical, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. It's, band changes their sound or whatever. Like, yeah, be critical, but like you said, yeah, not bashing the bands. Makes sense. So for both of you, what would you say is your favorite part about what you do for Atom Splitter?
God, there's so many things. Well, I love to tell the stories. I'm a natural writer, which I love to do, but I don't do it anymore as I retired from it because it just gets exhausting. I love to tell band stories. I love to help get this music into the ears and in front of the people who need to hear it. I know looking back, a lot of the music I loved and that I really connected with, someone did the same behind the scenes work to get it in front of me. A lot of it was more organic back when I was really discovering new music in high school and college through, shows and getting handed flyers. It wasn't so online, obviously, but I know there was people who, I used to read about bands I loved in magazines and hear them on the radio. And I now know that there was a lot of work behind the scenes to get that stuff to the ears. And I love being a part of that process. I like, this is somebody's art and they make it because they want people to hear it. And I love being on the front lines, helping it get to people who need to hear it. Has be saving lives.
Has there been a time that like sticks out to you that like, wow, like you can think back like, wow, we helped make that happen?
A lot of times I feel that way about, when an artist, like a song is taking off or artist is going gold or platinum, or you see like the press starting to cover a band or when it started out in the blog press and the scene press, and then you see like mainstream outlets starting to take notice and respond to your pitches, or come to you after you've been coming to them and them not responding or just passing. So that's really rewarding. That's really like, that's what gets you running to your desk every day to try to make those conversations become commitments. I'm talking too much to you, Tim. Talk. I feel like I'm a big
You
talking
always have
head.
something good to say, though. No, I think what kind of led me to having a job in PR and not wanting to do anything else is the whole idea of music discovery, and helping people discover new music is amazing to me, because growing up in the punk rock and hardcore scene, I was like dying to find anything and everything new. At the time when I was in my teens, we had CDs, so I would dig through all the album artwork, and I would go right to the thank yous, and I would read through the liner notes and see like the what bands who they were friends with and who they were thanking or who they were out on the road with, and immediately I would see what those bands were about, and if they were playing a show locally, I would go to those shows, and it just that's how I got to where I am, is through music discovery, and it's like an amazing journey to have, especially when you're young, and to be able to introduce people and kind of influence their listening styles is very fun. And then also like what Amy said with telling stories, that's something that like didn't happen until much later for me, is the idea of telling stories. It was always like, when I was younger, it was always like pushing the band and the music and making sure that that's seen for a new album, this and that. But as I got older, I'm seeing that like their stories are actually just as important to the music. So getting their stories out there is a lot of fun as well.
Nice. Do you have a time that you can think back of, kind of like what I asked Amy, of like, like a proud moment or like an exciting time since either being with Adam Splitter or before that you can think of?
I mean, I'm right now, I could say that I'm truly loving everything that we're doing with LS Dunes. Yes, they're they're obviously very popular band members, but the band itself is brand new. Mm-hmm. And just knowing a bunch of those dudes for a while now, and but never actually working with them and being able to blow them up has been an amazing process for the past like 6 months now, because leading up to the band being announced, we were working on that in the background, and that's really awesome.
No, for sure. I've seen a bunch of people that I follow like very excited for that whole project and the music. So that's awesome that you guys were able to take them on, and it kind of leads me to like a follow up question of what kind of goes into choosing the clients and the artists that you work with. You mentioned being able to pick and choose now that you guys have such a dope roster of artists. What would you say helps influence those decisions that you make?
Well, it has to be, a lot of times it could be that we have a past relationship with a band member or the manager or the label, or just something we really love and we want to work with it because it fits what we do. It just makes sense for us. We felt that way about Parkway Drive, and we were like, we want to work with them. I mean, we make sense for them, they make sense for us, and it worked out, and like it's been a really rewarding project. Same thing with I Prevail. I always wanted to work with them, and we pretty much do everything for Fearless except like 2 bands. And when we work for a label doing like a retainer, we work everything, and a lot of times the fun challenge is like, say if you have a band that you might not knew about before, you didn't love it, but you really love, like, even if you don't personally love it, you still love telling the story and turning it on to the people who do like that style or like this particular band or like the members former bands or something like that. That's really, the exciting part too. So it really has to fit what we do. It has to be something like, that we personally like, or we personally like the people, the music, the label, the manager, whatever. But it has to really fit what we do. Like, there a lot of times we get a lot of solicitations every day from fans that, ask about what we do. And, like, I mean, there's a million metalcore bands out there. We want to work with the ones that we love the most and that are the best and that we can do new things for or bring new looks to the table for. It's like, we're very, at this point, we're really not doing much with developing projects unless it's part of our labels that we work with. And that's just because, our bandwidth, and we're just, we're really very, very focused in on bands that fit what we do. And, there's some projects that like I fell in love with just through working them. And that's really exciting and rewarding too. And, there are things like I'll run it by, we run it by the team. We talk about things, we know what we do, but there's certain things where I'm like, if I'm on the fence, I'm like, hey, do you think we could do something with this? We share it, we talk about it, we have discussions about it, but it really, really largely depends on, does it fit what we do? Which is, our kind of the way we do things is that we have a lot of bands that we've worked with for a really long time and have done all the press in the world. So for a band like Killswitch, who does very limited press because they've earned the right to do limited press, it's always about what can we find new for them to do? What haven't they done yet? What's the like tent pole that we want to make happen on this record? What will make Adam D laugh when he's doing his interview? Stuff like that. It's like we want to find new looks that keeps the band loving doing press and having fun and exposing them to new audiences. Or if we have an up and coming project that we think is really amazing, like this record by Gideon is like so fucking heavy. It's like, okay, what haven't they done, and what do we need to like? When the album's out for a year, we want to look back and go, what, like, we got everything we wanted for it, and what didn't we, so we can try to get that done now. Like that's how I look at it. Tim, you want to weigh in on how you feel or think about the process?
I agree with every. Yeah, I was going to say, I lost track of the question, but I was listening to everything you were saying, and I was agreeing with it. So, what was the initial
how we pick who we work with.
Yeah, there's just got to be some type of connection there, either personally with the band, the band's team, or we just have to feel something. I don't think we take much, if anything, on if we don't have some type of connection with it. Whether it's, like I said, we know the people personally, or we just connect with the music some way, and we think that we can like get behind it.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of stuff that we work with is like from years of history, bands we have history with.
Mm-hmm. So y'all have, you have bands from all scales. It seems like, you have, newly signed bands. You have bands like Killswitch that have been doing the thing for quite a while. How do you manage from your newest band signed to, I say signed, but that have joined the Atom Splitter roster to the Killswitches of the world, and how do you manage the efforts put towards so many different artists on your roster?
Well, I mean, Tim, you can weigh in here. I just say like every band has different goals, press goals, and press, protocol. And that's never arbitrary. That's all discussed and decided before a campaign even starts.
Not to cut you off, that's exactly what I was going to say. Is from the very start, we speak with the label or speak with management, and we go over, hey, like what's the plan for the band? What's the is it an EP release? Is it just a couple singles that you're rolling out? Is it an album? What's the plan for the next 3, 6, 12 months basically? And let us figure out our plan for what's coming out. This way we can kind of like, just plan, get ahead of things. This way there are, hopefully not too many stumbling blocks. But it's just figuring out a plan with all the players.
Gotcha. how big is the Atom Splitter team? I think there may be like a misconception that y'all are a large organization, but how many people are running the show?
Well, it's me and Tim, obviously. We also have Rachel, who is awesome, and she's in Chicago. She used to work at Victory, and she also worked at 10th Street. So she's worked with everybody from like, Hell Yeah, Motley Crue, and Five Finger to, stuff like Terror and Day to Remember and stuff like that on Victory. So she, and she's just got like the publicist gene. She's always she knows how to get it done. So, and we're talking about her right now, and she'll probably hear this, and she'll probably be like, "Oh my God, I love you guys." And she's, like she's amazing. She is. When we had this position open up, she was exactly what we were looking for. It was like the unicorn. I always call her our matte black unicorn, because she's got black hair and wears black glasses. But yeah, she was, what we were looking for. And then we also have Monique, who does most of our tour press, because that's a very busy aspect of what we do with touring. And then we also have, and Monique started out as an intern, and she does other things too. She has done touring with bands, so she's a very big live person, and music fan. And then we also have Shane, who is our like our publicity assistant, and he was in a band, and he's a friend of Tim's, and Tim introduced me to him, and he's just happy to be doing anything music related. He's just like really infectious, good attitude.
I
And then
will
we also have,
say the one common theme with everybody that works for Atom Splitter is none of us want to do anything else. All
yeah,
we want to
everybody
do
loves what we're
is work
doing.
in music. There's no
Yep.
fallback option for us. Literally,
No,
like
nobody
bands
else
say,
is
we have no
like,
fallback option. Well, we don't have a fallback option either because this is all that we have. You know,
yeah, and we
and that's the
also
God
like,
honest
I want
truth.
to, it is like, I don't want to do anything else. Seth is also, Seth has been with me the longest. He is a very good friend of mine. We have the same birthday. Just like we have the same birthday with Cody from Wage War. But Seth was my editor at AOL Noise Creep, and I was just, when I started the company, I was like, I need somebody to do my reports and my social media because I don't fucking have time. And Seth has been doing that. He's like, he does it for a lot of different people, but he started with us. And he's been with me since the very beginning. If I got a question about my new laptop, if I have a question about G Suite, if I need, Seth, we need a project created in our internal app that we use, platform we use, Basecamp. Seth is like, Seth in IT, as I like to call him, but he does so much more than that. And he's been a good friend. And we also have really great interns every semester. We had Carolyn, who was one of our interns for the fall, who did a lot of, data work, with gathering, coverage from a lot of tour. We had Ava, who's been our intern for 2 semesters, and, who really just loves music and loves going to shows and loves seeing our bands and connecting with the music and loves going out there and everything we ask her to do does it with a smile. So that's really, so we are a small but powerful army. And we, it's I got to give a shout out Mike, who isn't with us anymore. He left in August, but he was with us for a long time, and he was really responsible for helping the company grow in the early days. And it was me and him for a while, and Seth. And so it's, we're always growing. We're going to keep growing. 2023 looks like a lot more growth. We don't want to slow down. We don't want to say, oh my God, we don't have enough manpower to take over. No, we want to have more hands on deck working these great projects that we want to work. We have bands out there that we have our eyes on that we know we're going to end up working with them. So it's just, we keep growing the team, and the team is really, like I said, it's a small but powerful. We're a small but mighty army. And
You,
that's
you
like, I was never expecting that when I started this on a Monday after I left Roadrunner on a Friday.
so you may have mentioned it before, but I don't think I caught it. How long has Atom Splitter been around?
Well, it will be the official incorporation in the state of New Jersey was December 27th, 2012, but we officially, like, official, like, was January 2013. So 10 years, And Rachel wants to have a
Mm,
big party because of it. She's planning it. She's planning it.
that's
So yeah,
exciting.
it'll
That's
be.
awesome.
Yeah, no, it's 10 years. I can't believe it. It makes me feel old. But yeah, it's just I started it in my guest room with my dog Higgins at the time. Sitting by me every day while I just, it just started. It was a snowball that just kept picking up the pace, rolling down the hill and getting bigger and bigger. And it hasn't ever stopped. And I don't want it to ever stop. I don't ever want it to go in the opposite direction.
No, that's great. And the again, I'll have my hit on it. It's the relationships that you built prior to Adam that helped get you really those first clients and those bands that you started working with, and here you are today with this long list roster of awesome bands that are doing some really great things
Yeah, we're
in
proud of
the
it.
scene. Yeah, I would be
Not to
too.
date
That's
myself,
awesome.
but I worked at Roadrunner for a very long time too, over a decade. With Slipknot. I worked Iowa, and I worked All Hope Is Gone and Volume Three's Subliminal Verses, Machine Head, Through the Ashes of Empires, and The Blackening, which are really untouchable back-to-back classics. We worked with Theory of the Dead Man, Devil Driver, um, tons and tons of really great bands. Young the Giant, over Nickelback. It was really truly, and I still have relationships and work with so many of those bands. And that's what it is. It's all about just maintaining, like I always tell people, like, I feel like nobody's gonna care more than we do. We're always gonna like, I'm always gonna care way more than I'll ever get paid to because I don't want to do anything else. That's really important. Like I always quote Little Miss Sunshine, but it's the truth. And he says it at the end. He's like, "Do what you love, fuck the rest." And that's really, I have friends and relatives who hate their jobs. My brother used to tell me, "Man, I check my watch 1,000 times a day." Because he works at the casino, and he deals with people, and I don't want to do that. I mean, we deal with people in a
Mhm.
different way, but that's doing with the public. And I have friends that are like, "Oh my God, as soon as 5 o'clock gets here, I got to go to happy hour. I can't stand my boss." Like, I never ever felt that way ever yet. I get texts and emails and calls at 1 in the morning or 11 o'clock when I'm trying to watch a movie or something, but it's worth it to me because I don't look at my watch at all during the day because I love what I do. So, and I'm blessed and I'm lucky, and I know not everybody has that scenario, and I don't take that for granted. I don't forget that ever. Tim said to me like a couple of weeks ago, just like, like you've seen what it's like not doing what you love. And it's hard, and so you want to always hold on to this and do what you love.
Mhm. 100%.
I'm stuffed up. That's
100%
why my
agree.
mouth is open the whole time. I'm stuffed up because I got a cold because I had six events last week in 4 nights. Three Pretty Reckless shows, a Dayseeker show, and Make Them Suffer show, a Metal Sucks party, and then another show. And so I'm stuffed up. So that's why I'm like I look like I have my mouth open the whole time, like a mouth breather.
No, you're fine. Really, a sidebar shout out that I have to say, Dayseeker's new album is phenomenal.
It is. Those
It
guys are like
is,
next level.
and it's
And I think
crazy because go ahead.
no, go ahead, go ahead. I want to hear what you have to
I was
say.
say,
Sorry.
I said I think it's crazy, coming out of Sleep Talk, um, the expectations that people had uh, of them with this new album, and I went into it, when y'all put it into the portal, just open mind. I all I knew I wanted to hear was Rory sing, and that was it. And
Right.
I blown away after like the first listen, and then I think for that next month, that's all I listened to for the remainder until it came out.
I feel like a lot
it,
of people. I feel like a lot of people have that reaction to this record.
They'll probably be the next band that we get to like really build up, I think.
mhm.
I agree because I
Yeah.
feel like we just saw them. Like first of all, like they went on and Make Them
We,
Suffer is just
yeah.
so brutal, heavy, and you're like, oh my God, that just kicked my ass. And then Daisy comes out with these pretty fucking melodies. Rory's fucking emotional lyrics. He's coming out of having a baby and is losing his father, and you really put it all out there. And then they look amazing in those all black monochrome looks. I mean, it's all like I feel like they're just about to pop. And
Mhm.
it's been building they're the quietest big band nobody's ever heard of. Like, they're a quietly big band. And me and Tim like talk about like we like and Tim at their label, we're always like, they're right there. We gotta like strategize to get them over that hump because they're going over it. It's just a matter
Yeah.
of how we get them over it. Like, what's the couple of things that's gonna make people not forget them? Because they're on their
Right.
way. There's no stopping it. The
And I
train's
think
on the tracks.
the people in the music industry that know, like they know of them and know how good they are and can see the future of who they can be. They can make decisions. Like, Bad Omens didn't need to bring them on this tour, but they made a fantastic decision doing so, right?
Yeah. No, it's a good choice.
And,
Because Day Theater
yeah.
can sell out shows on their own, I mean, and it just was a good choice. I agree.
Yeah, no, they crushed it, and still to this day, I'm like, sounds probably album of the year for me.
I feel like a lot of people have a visceral response to the record because it comes from such a personal place with Rory. Like he really, he's a reserved guy. He lays it out in that music. And I think, like I said, they look amazing. Like I said, they came out and they just look like the look is unforgettable. The sound it's just something's going to pop off for them. It's inevitable.
I mean, the dude, he sings live how he does on the record. Like he doesn't skip a beat. It's live shows is awesome. But anyways, yeah, JC rocks, and that's awesome to see their success over the last like couple of years.
They stream they stream more than like. Go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say we got a similar vibe from Thornhill as well when we got to see them over the summer.
Yeah, yeah. So stylish. Like I watched some of the videos I posted on my Instagram story. I was like, oh my God, they already said in the singer was like, my sweat doesn't smell. And I sniffed his armpits and it didn't smell. I was like, remember when I was like, remember I sniffed his armpits at the show?
And then
that's
and then I saw Dayseeker actually for the first time when they toured with Thornhill. They played a small room here in Dallas and sold it out, and it was impeccable.
We have a couple bands I feel like that are gonna be on that next level. Like the Loathe is another one of our bands that's just gonna next year that's gonna be unstoppable. We have this band Avatar that we work with. Like that band I think also is just gonna do wild things. They're having like I can't say there's something that's happening that's kind of cool and unusual, but they'll definitely be talking about that when it's official. But we're already working on the behind the scenes right now. It's just really cool, not music related. And then we have like a classic band like In Flames who, they're on their like billionth album and still making music that people love. And then we have Pierce the Veil who's coming back on a level where it's like this, I feel like I'm holding back a dam and my arms are starting to shake because it's going to just boom. That's like a group of human beings who are amazing, wonderful humans who deserve all the success in the world. Like they make you root for them. Like I want to do amazing things because Vic and Jaime and Tony are just great humans. They deserve the success that they've had because, they're just great dudes. And they made, I think Past the Nirvana is one of their best songs ever. I think Emergency Contact, and like mainstream media is paying attention and they should, because I think Pierce the Veil, I think there's like a real emo kind of pop punk revival right now. And they are one of the most important bands in that world and also having, a Latin background. I think that 2023 is going to be huge for them because they've been gone for a while. And I saw their first show in 5 years, when they were on the Hypervale tour, and you felt it before they went on. I was feeling it from the crowd. And then when I saw them right before they went on, they did their group hug and then they hugged me. And I was like, oh my God, I love you guys so much. I'm so happy to see you. And I just can't wait to see what that album does.
No, that's also super exciting. I mean, I was there when they were really first kind of on the scene. So I mean, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I want to respect Joel's time. We're looking at right about
Tim
now.
Tim has a new baby.
Yes, of course.
I'm just like hanging out. Wilbur, my dog, is being like, "Mom, I want attention." He's laying right next to me right now, and you got stuff you have to do too, I'm sure.
Just dinner. But
well, dinner is important. Food is important.
Yeah, I have just a few things before I let you guys go.
Sure.
the two questions. The first one is there anything from a PR perspective that you want people that will listen to this to know? Publications, bands, just from a PR side of things that you feel like make not need to, but you would want someone to know.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. I would just say always that, like, we're here to work with you. Like some people have adversarial relationships in the media. I don't know how you can function like that. We're here to work with you. And like I said, if we can't make something work for you, it's not for lack of trying or just sometimes it just doesn't work out. But that doesn't mean we don't have other bands we can work with you on. And like we're here to work together. It's a you know a symbiotic relationship that and I think most media knows that. I mean, they do, or they should.
Mm-hmm.
Tim?
Yeah, I was just going to say, just everybody, like, just be respectful to, one another. If, like, sometimes we do have to decline people, and sometimes when we do, people get, upset about it. But it's not because we necessarily want to. There's reasons behind whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, doesn't mean that it's always going to be that way, So just don't, but by getting, yeah, but by, if you're declined and you start yelling at us, it's not going to help your cause later down the line.
Yeah. And Monique does a fantastic job of letting us know if we aren't approved, that she looks forward to our next request. Awesome. And then this is just a fun question. If you guys are coffee drinkers, how do you like your coffee?
Out
of the two of us, I drink.
Tim, you go first.
Yeah,
Tim,
straight black. Absolutely. I drink about, 6 cups in the morning, and then another. Oh yeah, yeah. It's the pot is full in the morning at about 7:30, 8 o'clock. That's brewing, and so I have like anywhere between like 4 to 6 cups. Not because I need the caffeine. I mean, I probably need it a little bit, but I just enjoy drinking coffee.
I 4 or 5 cups, not because I need it.
And then I'll have sometimes I'll have an afternoon latte or something.
Well,
but it's always straight black. Maybe in the evening I might put a little bit of sugar in it, sweeten it up.
Okay,
but black.
Okay.
I do not drink coffee ever. I don't like the taste. I like the smell. I go to Starbucks every single day, maybe twice a day, but I don't get coffee. I get Starbucks strawberry refreshers, fancy strawberry refresher with lemonade. So, yeah, I don't drink coffee. I never did. I'm a tea person. And when I drink tea, even though that's not the question, I will usually do like either honey or sugar, but usually like maybe a teaspoon of honey or sugar and maybe some milk, depending on what the flavor is. If it's like a lemon or hold on a second. Hey, hold on. Sorry. It's my dog and cat. I'm sorry. My dog and cat get along perfectly, but some days they always end up in the same spot. And like, it's like antagonizing each other. You're not going over there. They're like children. They're like bickering siblings. Guys, come on. I'm serious. Sorry. You hear me yelling at my children.
No, it's okay. All right. I do know that most people that like don't like coffee but still want that caffeine in the morning it's typically tea. I have a friend that's like a big chai tea person.
I love chai tea. I love I like different flavors. Like I like chocolate cherry tea. I even like, cardamom flavors, anything with vanilla or almonds. So yeah, I just was at the punk rock flea market in Trenton, and I got some loose teas from a photographer I know named Adam, and he has his own tea. Hold on, let me grab it. I'll give him a little plug. Hold on a second.
Okay. All right.
I'm giving him a plug. Sorry, because it's metal.
Product placement.
Yeah,
let's go.
It's Brutalities, and this one is called Creme Pistachio. It's their pistachio holiday blend, but they named it after metal bands. They have like the end of Carrot Cake, which is like the end of Heartache from Killswitch. So yeah, I got that one. Well, he gave me that one. So Yeah, no, I'm a big tea person. It's quite yummy.
Perfect. Awesome. I appreciate you guys sharing that. We're called Coffee and Sugar, but we have nothing to do with coffee and sugar outside of the fact that my last name's Kaufman and my counterpart's last name is Sugars, and then
I love it.
Why coffee?
Sugar's
Why
great
coffee
name.
and sugar thing?
I love it. I'm glad
right.
I know what it is now. Kaufman, I got it.
Sugars, yeah, it's
well, yeah, Mike from Vatican's last name is Sugars.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, and is it spelled? His is spelled Shugar. I don't know if it's the same for him.
Mike is Sugars, like sugar packets.
Yeah. Yeah, but I appreciate you guys jumping on and just talking with me for a little bit. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and it kind of goes with this however many part series of just learning about people that work in the industry. So again, appreciate it. Few closing words. The way that this software works, Riverside, it actually records locally and it uploads locally. So you'll see like a percentage bar in like the top left or top right. And that will tell you
uploaded.
So basically, whenever we get done, it'll keep uploading. So just don't close the browser. If you just kind of keep it open, then that would be perfect. I don't want to lose the audio. It looks like Tim, yours is like 99%. So
yeah, it's been 99%.
Why is mine only 10%? Why is mine only 10%?
It sucks.
It could be a.
I have BIOS.
It says. I don't know. I have no idea.
I'll leave it open.
But awesome. Well, thank you all again. And Tim, Amy, if you guys, need us to continue to review things, just let us know.
Review all of our stuff. We would love it. Don't be afraid to ask.
You got it. Awesome. Well, I'll let you guys get back to your night. Thank you so much.
Yep,
and have a great rest of y'all's night.
You too. Happy holidays. Bye.
Happy holidays, y'all.
Bye-bye.